Good morning, Prospect. We've made it to the middle of another week. And today I'm going to ramble a lot because there are a lot of things that I see as connected, but you may not, so here goes. We are trying to restart the ministries at Prospect. We have lived through a season of wilderness and desert, if you would, isolation. And the truth of the matter is that an awful lot of you are scared. And I want you to hear me say that I understand that and I respect that. But at the same time, there is a reason that you have to do things. And if you think about the biblical story of the Exodus from Egypt, after the children of Israel had left at Pharaoh's urging, Pharaoh was talked into getting revenge for all of the deaths of the firstborn by eliminating the Hebrew problem. And he sent his army. And the people are camped by the Red Sea, and they see the cloud of dust coming, knowing that the army of the greatest nation on earth is about to bring great misery upon them. And they cry out and they're afraid. And Moses has to tell them, get up off of your fear and walk towards the water. There is absolutely a time for prayer, and I'm not opposed to praying while I walk, but there is a time for getting up off of our fear. That's what we're trying to do. Now, with that being said, there are a couple of things that just are going to have to happen. And you may not be happy with this, but this is just the reality of life. Nancy has been working very hard. She was very disappointed that we weren't able to have Vacation Bible School last year. I understand it's been a very big part of life in the summer at Prospect. But I also know that as of right now, we have exactly 0 volunteers. And without volunteers, there will not be a Vacation Bible School. We have a responsibility to the children that do come to keep them safe, to be able to watch out for them. And in order for Vacation Bible School to work, we need an absolute bare minimum of about a dozen adults, more like 20 to 25 minimum, and we have none. So if we don't get volunteers this week, I'm going to have to cancel Vacation Bible School. There's too much work to be done to wait and cancel it at the last minute. I don't want to do that. Along those same lines, or at least, as I said, there's a connection in my mind. I walked into Ingalls earlier this week. There was a very dear lady in there. It was obvious she had had surgery of some kind. Her arm was in the sling, and I thought she might have had shoulder replacement surgery because I've seen a lot of people with that particular sling. And we were talking, and she told me that she had in fact torn the ligaments, and she had had surgery, and they had to break her shoulder and patch it and put the tendon back in place. And she said something, and I asked her if I could pray with her, and she started crying. And it made me realize there are an awful lot of us who have been isolated for too long, and we're actually afraid to touch other people. Now, if you have not heard me, please hear me. I'm not trying to make you do anything that you're uncomfortable with. But I want you to hear me that human beings were designed to live in community, and human beings need the touch of love. So we're going to have to get back to that. Yesterday I got a call from a lady who was unhappy with the softball team. Now, just so you know, I have a very strong policy. If you can't tell me who did something, I'm not going to address it. A group of people did not say ugly things. Somebody or somebodies did. But it is important that we remember that every time we go out in public, we represent Prospect. And especially if we go out in public as a group of Prospect people. We need to remember whose we are. We are starting up Sunday school. Charlie has already written up a letter. It's going to be in the newsletter this week. And I want to encourage you all to come to Sunday school. But I also want you to know that if you're not ready, it's okay. We're going to go ahead and start, and we want you to join us when you're ready. Jesus said that he was the light of the world. While he was in the world, he was the light. There was a time when darkness was coming, when no one could work. But until then, we all had work to do. Now, I have spent some time reading the Gospel of John, and light and darkness are themes where the light is opposed to the darkness. I mean, he begins the gospel that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. He was in the beginning with God, and the Word was the light of the world. Now, we know the Word is Jesus when John's talking about it. Night is ignorance or sometimes evil, but it is something that we have to prepare for, is what Jesus is saying. And night is coming. It's hard to argue that night hasn't already come in a lot of ways, but we are the church. And part of our charge is to be light, be salt, to be that beacon on a hill to help rescue people who are lost in the valley in darkness. Darkness is coming. Let's work while there is light. Prospect, I love you, I respect you, and you may find this funny after being here a year and a half, but I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. God bless.